Hello everyone, my name is Aaron Cunningham and I would like to present on the effective alcohol advertisement and addiction. So I'd like to start by talking about what this presentation is and what this presentation is not. This presentation is a tool for opening dialogue and discussion regarding alcohol advertisement and its effects, and it's not a systematic review or a piece of research that has been thoroughly vetted. This is more of an informal presentation on a topic. So we're going to start by discussing addiction, and then we're going to discuss alcohol advertisement, and then we're going to look at the effect alcohol advertisement has on addiction. For this presentation, when I use the word addiction, what I'm referring to is a compulsive use of substances leading to physiological and psychological dependence. So when I say alcohol use disorder, alcoholism, addiction, that's what I'm going to be referring to for this presentation. According to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, the rate of people with alcohol use disorder in 2021 at least was about 30 million people. And of them, about 1 million people aged 12 to 17 also had alcohol use disorder. I wanted to quickly cover the health consequences of alcoholism just to demonstrate its destructive effects. So when I'm talking about it negatively, this is what I'm talking about. Long term, it tends to cause liver failures or types of cancers and various deficiencies that can lead to expensive medical problems and eventually death. Short term, it can also cause coma and death if too much is taken too quickly, but, it can also just lead to problems with judgment, and those can result in death, for example, drunk driving, automobile accidents. So alcohol advertisement is probably very old, but the type of marketing I'm going to be talking about started along with the birth of modern advertising in roughly the 1930s, probably a bit before. But the first major alcohol campaign was Guinness, with Guinness for Health as its marketing tagline. And taglines in marketing have not fundamentally changed over the past 100 years, but the current trends tend to allow for much more targeted advertisement as opposed to very broad appeal for advertisement. And we're going to be talking about that a lot. So the rate of influence of advertisement, the amount of effect it has, is very difficult to determine. Probably the only people who know what actual numbers of marketing are the specific market research firms used by companies for marketing. But the goal of advertising and the effect of advertising is pretty clear. It wants to increase the amount of people who know about a product and how many people consume that product. In the attempt to find good research on the topic of alcohol consumption and advertisement, it's almost impossible to find a rate of alcohol consumption that is not impacted by marketing in some form. Marketing is extremely pervasive in the United States and really the world, so the impact of advertisement on alcohol consumption can't really be measured at this point. It's already happened. As marketing has evolved, it has become more and more interested in targeted advertisements for a specific demographic. This is fine for most demographics most of the time, but there are vulnerable populations being targeted by ads, even if that's not the explicit goal. For this presentation, I'm going to be talking about children and alcoholics when I talk about vulnerable populations, but there are many more groups. The impact of advertisements on these groups is the impact all marketing has everywhere. It's trying to increase the amount of people who know about and desire that product. This has a tangible impact, although not measurable, on addiction. So there are many different types of ads. Each of them are dependent on their environment. I want to talk about targeted ads, which means that I should talk a bit about algorithmic learning. Algorithms are how we currently target advertisements to specific demographics, at least online. This can be a problem because they are not a deliberate form of advertisement, and they are extremely well targeted to specific people. I'll talk about that in a bit. The psychological effect of advertisement is targeting desire and knowledge. So there are two broad categories of ads. Ones that try to get you to consume a product or just know about a product. Either one has a tangible impact on how you think about the product. No one and no population is immune to that type of effect. My key concerns with this targeted advertisement are a limit of ethics and the motivation of profit. Children are extremely profitable to market to. They're extremely impacted by it and tend to have a very positive, monetarily long-term impact if you can market to them. But there is no ethical consideration regarding minors except what can be enforced from an external source. Marketing firms, they do not care about ethics. So I want to be clear what I'm talking about when I say legal regulations. It is currently illegal to deliberately market alcohol to children, and it's illegal to advertise certain types of alcohol, mostly hard liquor, in certain venues, like commercials. But children do see alcohol ads all the time because they're everywhere. You don't have to deliberately target children to target children. Our culture influences our advertising, and our advertisements influence our culture. A lot of commercials, a lot of advertisement deliberately targets social norms rather than consumption regarding alcohol. Most beer commercials, for example, won't have anyone drinking any beer in it because it's not legal to drink beer during a beer commercial. But there will be people socializing and have beer next to them. They're reinforcing a cultural norm, the cultural norm of socialization and alcohol being interconnected. And that is not necessarily very healthy. So cultural beliefs and behaviors impact that culture's health. So our long-term societal health, our overall health across everyone, is impacted by these advertisements because they are changing social norms. They're deliberately reinforcing social norms that can be destructive. And this has a particular effect on young minds. This is why media literacy campaigns, especially ones for children, are so important. It's very important to reinforce that people understand what cultural norms are and what cultural norms are being influenced by the things they're seeing. There is a divide, and it is very important to maintain the divide. So, the core crux of this presentation is the effect of alcohol advertisement on alcohol addiction. There are assumptions that have to be made on numbers, but it does seem like there is a link between the rate of alcohol consumption and marketing. Therefore, there is most likely a link between alcohol marketing and alcohol use disorder, alcoholism. There is a relationship there, although it's very difficult to see exact extents for that relationship. There is a difference between where you are and where you assume a average person should be in the world. For most people, they're okay with there being a divide, but to some degree, most people, and especially young people, have a very hard time respecting that divide. This can be detrimental to your mental health, and this divide can be preyed upon by advertisements. They can cause a negative self-image, which can itself lead to a feedback loop of negative response. This can make you even more susceptible to advertisement than you would be otherwise. So, real fast, I just want to say that international versus US advertising, I'm just assuming that all cultures treat alcohol the same. That is obviously untrue, but just for the sake of this presentation and brevity, that's the assumption I'm making. So the implication of the research I've found, short term, it means that a lot of targeted advertisement is probably going to get worse before it gets better. So a lot more targeted advertisement, a lot more deliberately not deliberate advertisement. Long term, it's harder to say, but it's probably going to lead to the same kind of feedback loop I was talking about earlier. Regarding advertisement and alcohol consumption and the increasing of alcohol consumption. So, very fast outro. Research dictates that there is a link between alcohol consumption and alcohol marketing, although the magnitude of that link is not able to be established by me, at least. The conclusion thereof is that there is a link between alcohol use disorder and alcohol marketing in a positive manner. The implications thereof are that as marketing increases in efficacy, there will also be an increase in alcoholism rates. The rate of alcoholism will increase. And thank you very much for listening, if indeed you still are. Have a lovely week.